I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers, and this is This Week
in Recruiting.
It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout and follow Next Level Is that right? Did I get that right?
Got it right.
GPowersScout.
There you go.
I always have to say Matt Stepapa 817. GPowersScout and follow Next Level Athlete, our valued recruiting partner at Next Level D1 on Twitter. So your stuff is done for the magazine.
Feels good.
Essentially, yeah. I bet it does. I bet it does, dum-dum. So your stuff is. So what are you working on these days? I think people want to know where you are in the recruiting cycle.
Well, first off, I think some big news with Next Level Athlete, Dave Campbell's Texas football in general is partnership struck with Straight Line Recruiting in Texas and a sponsorship of the THSCA between Next Level Athlete and the Texas High School Coaches Association, which could be a game changer, so to speak, in the recruiting landscape in the state of Texas. And we can't really go into everything. A
lot of details to come, but
that's probably the biggest news behind the scenes in Texas high school football, maybe.
Yeah, because if you're seeing, by the way, if you're seeing coaches and dozens of coaches out there tweeting hashtag SLR or hashtag Straight Line Recruiting, what they mean by that, this is a big push by the Texas High School Coaches Association to basically make the recruiting process that the colleges go directly to the high school coaches, and they are the conduit by which they can get to the high school athlete, as opposed to third parties, as opposed to call them street agents, whatever you want to call them. Instead, the idea is straight line recruiting, that you make the high school football coach, who's the coach who knows them best, and I mean really has no skin in the game. He's not going to get any anything extra if some guy goes to Ohio State or whatever. But in any case, the idea of making them the conduit. So if you're confused about what that is, what SLR is, but I know it's a big push for the THSCA.
Well, and I think that we've kind of explained it in episodes in the past where you have a process of how you vet out and discover prospects in the state of Texas, and our process was always to go through the high school coach. So this really goes hand in hand with what we've always done in the past. Bringing Next Level Athlete, THSCA, and Straight Line Recruiting all together gives the Texas high school coaches a conduit to use a service to put the colleges and the high school coaches together.
Yeah.
So you have the high school coaches, Next Level Athlete, college coaches.
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty much a match made in heaven, and I think that there's going to be a lot of game-changing and innovative things coming behind that. And there's some really forward thinking going on right now with the THSCA as they try to take back a little bit more control of the recruiting process and make sure that they are looking out for their prospects' best interests.
Well, and I think there's a lot of people that what you hear is that, oh, we don't want this to become AAU basketball. You know what I mean? AAU basketball has kind of become synonymous with just the Wild West of people getting money from under the table to make sure that a kid goes so-and-so. So, like, there's a reason you hear about all these scandals in college basketball. It's because of that. And so this is an interesting move here by the THSCA, and more details to come on all of those partnerships. Powers, let's get into your weekly recruiting dump. It's on TexasFootball.com, and, of course, TexasFootball.com/recruiting for all the latest recruiting news and notes from around the state. Let's start with our prospect on the rise in the DFW Metroplex, the Colony defensive back Christian Gonzalez, named the top 8. This is a guy who's got offers not just from a lot of Power 5 schools, but he's narrowed it down to, I mean, there's no real like through line that you can say, oh, it's not like a bunch of Texas teams. It's not like a bunch of Big 12 teams. It's just a bunch of really good teams that are looking for the services of the Colony defensive back Christian Gonzalez.
And he doesn't really typically fit into what our prospect on the rise really truly is. You know, a lot of the times we'll pick a sleeper. I guess that's a recruiting term that we can use, sleeper prospect. Not sleepy prospect. Yep.
Yeah, man, I am sleepy.
Struggling.
Sleeper prospect. Christian Gonzalez is not a sleeper, but what's happened is he named a top 8, and it was a pretty good top 8. I mean, Texas Tech, Purdue, Arkansas, Notre Dame, Baylor, Ole Miss, Colorado, and Missouri. Those are some pretty good schools. But since that time, his offer list has exploded, and this week was another step up. Alabama, TCU, Ohio State, Florida, and Miami joined that offer parade, and now he has some serious thinking to do, because I would predict now that top 8 is
maybe
not
change.
his true top 8 anymore.
Yeah. Whenever Alabama and Ohio State, and maybe to a lesser extent Florida, TCU, and Miami join the party, you got to rethink where you're at. But everybody's after Christian Gonzalez. He was the first-team All-District cornerback last year. 29 tackles, 9 pass breakups, and an interception. But they basically threw away from him for the Cougars. So the numbers don't necessarily tell the story. So keep an eye on the Colony defensive back Christian Gonzalez. Let's get to our commit of the week, and we're going out to the South Plains as Matt Wells and company picked up a big-time recruit in offensive lineman Caleb Rogers out of Mansfield Lake Ridge. It certainly passes the eyeball test. 6'6", 270, a guy who had offers from a variety of different places. This was, I believe, his first Power 5 offer, and he jumped on it. But really, I know the one thing you really like about this kid is position flexibility, let's say.
Roster flexibility.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think that he could truly play tackle, guard, or center, depending upon his growth. And when you look at this kid go through some drills at the Next Level Athlete Showcase and look at some of his film, you can kind of see the frame that he's working with. He's got, large hands, large feet, and he's only 200. He checked in at our camp at 266 pounds, probably around 270 right now. But he's going to be able to play at 300 or over 300. So it's really more of a case of how his body develops, and maybe possibly need that the Red Raiders have up front. And I think that's a unique quality that he brings to the table, and especially the ability to play center. You can't find too many guys who could play tackle, guard, or center. He could really play any of those spots depending upon how he develops.
Yeah, those are different skill sets. I mean, I think they're like I think John Q, football fan, might look at it and be like, it's just an offensive lineman. You know? But go ask offensive lineman, go ask offensive line coach, the difference between playing center and tackle. They might as well be on different planets sometime.
Definitely, and to have the power, and it's just a different skill set. To have the power to play inside, but then possibly have the feet and length to play outside. And he's not by any means the most highly rated prospect in the state up front. He was what we would typically, as we talked about sleeper earlier, he's a sleeper kind of guy because he committed to the first P5 offer that he really picked up. He had Arkansas State and New Mexico and ULM had offered him as well. But I think this is a guy who would have picked up more offers as guys came off the board. He could play at the P5 level. And as a matter of fact, after watching him at some camps this offseason, I was like, wow, this is a guy school should jump on, and Texas Tech jumped in not too long after. And
it kind of continues a trend of Texas Tech kind of coming to the Metroplex to pluck offensive linemen. Of course, Jack Anderson from Frisco, as well as Dawson Deaton, Madison Akunomo, Casey Verhulst, all from the DFW Metroplex. They've made some hay coming to DFW and picking up big hog mollies up front.
And they had a trend under the Cliff Kingsbury staff of recruiting these versatile guys, and that seems to have now continued with the Matt Wells staff. It's
exciting to see what they're there, but that's a big get for Texas Tech. They pick up Caleb Rogers from Mansfield Lake Ridge. We're here with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout, and follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. Let's get to our
and I'm excited about this next guy.
All right. Oh, hey, okay.
Excited about it.
Boy.
Underclassmen of the week, 2021. So a kid who's about to play his junior season. It's Flower Mound Marcus quarterback Garrett Nussmeier.
Yep.
And this is a guy who added a few more offers, some Power 5 offers included in there, as well as places like SMU. But if you know the name Nussmeier, he has a local tie to DFW in that he is tight end coach for the Dallas Cowboys, Doug Nussmeier's son. But this is a guy that go ahead. Why are you so fired up about him?
I'm fired up about him because he has followed a path of development, and you could really see him mature kind of right before your eyes. Watched him last fall, put him on the radar, had a good offer list at that time. As a matter of fact, LSU had already offered him by the time I had scouted him. He transferred, I think, from Florida back into the Dallas area because his dad had gotten the job with the Cowboys. So he was a move-in last year. And Marcus plays in a district that to me is the most fun to watch in the area. I love that district. They have the District of Doom, down south.
Mm-hmm.
But the district that always seems to me up north is the most competitive is that Flower Mound, Marcus, Hebron,
Louisville.
Yeah, that Louisville district that is just so much fun to watch week in and week out. It always comes down to the wires. Teams try to jockey for that fourth spot into the playoffs. And I really think Nussmeier gives Marcus an edge going into next season. They lost Marcel Brooks.
Yeah.
Right? But what they have coming back underneath center next year makes them a team that can be a true competitor, I think. And his arm strength has really picked up, and you could see that this offseason. I think that's why his offer list is going to continue to grow because he's a really cerebral quarterback, coach's kid.
Yeah.
But his arm strength and his overall strength as a prospect has continued to be on the rise.
And he's got two years to develop even further.
Still.
In high school. We're talking about a kid who's still right now, as we speak today, a sophomore in high school. Going into his junior season, it's going to be exciting to see what Garrett Nussmeier can do for Flower Mound Marcus. Finally, let's get to our recruit of the week, and I will be honest, I've written this guy's name about 100 times, and I've never said it out loud.
Okay, so we're kind of all in the same.
So it's Fort Bend.
I met him. So
Fort Bend Austin wide receiver Troy Omeire, I think it is. Omeire, the wide receiver out of Fort Bend Austin. He named the Final Four down to Texas, Texas A&M, Alabama, and LSU. Everyone's after this kid for a couple reasons. The numbers are nice: 46 catches, 804 yards, 13 touchdowns. That's nice. More importantly, this looks like, from an eyeball test, a true number one receiver.
Right, and he is a guy who at 6'4", 220 pounds is a 4.69 laser 40 guy.
Whew.
And I'll tell you, I met him at an event a few weeks ago, and he's big. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between like a legit 6'4", 220 and a listed 6. This guy is 6'4", 220.
Yeah.
He is massive. Big hands, huge catch radius, and what he can do in the passing game is really nice. But just think about what he can do to set the edge as a blocker with that body. And I think that's really why you see all these schools coming after him so fervently, is that they want to be able to use him on the outside to be that presence, that guy.
Well, and you look at literally all four of those schools. Yes, they all throw the ball, but at the same time, all four of them, the receivers are, in many respects, just added blockers to a lot of their base offense.
Right.
Especially, like, I look at Alabama, right? Alabama, they've put out some fantastic wide receivers, but one of the things that set Cameron Ridley apart was not just that he was a great receiver, pass catcher, route runner, but he was also a great blocker. And so having that kind of guy on the outside, I think for all four of these teams that he named in his top four, would certainly be an asset there.
And he's a guy that our in-state programs can be really excited about, too. It's going to be, if he takes a visit to Alabama, he takes a visit to LSU, they're going to have to battle that. Those are big-time places. And when they get a recruit on campus, their odds of landing him go up.
They tend to close the deal. They're good closers,
But Texas and Texas A&M, this could be like a traditional Texas A&M in-state battle when it's all said and done. And that's really what makes this recruitment of Troy Omeire so intriguing to me, is that it could really be between the Aggies and the Longhorns, and we know how much people in the state care about that battle.
It's going to be a lot of fun, but he is Troy Omeire, the receiver from Fort Bend Austin, is going to be a name to know. You can see the entire recruiting dump at TexasFootball.com, TexasFootball.com/recruiting, your complete source for all things Texas high school football recruiting. He is Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete, G Power Scout on Twitter, and at Next Level D1 on Twitter. Powers, appreciate it. Let's do it again. We're on the air next Wednesday, yes?
Yes.
Okay. We'll see you again next Wednesday.
Let's do it again next week.
Okay.
All right.